Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football Dill Monday night. And many of y'all know what time that is. The Rock Boys Top 25 getting released. And two things right off the bat. Number one, the top 25 we have in front of us right now looks a hell of a lot different from what it was a couple of weeks ago. My original preseason top 25 just getting torn to shreds. Now, number two, I fully recognize I got some hot takes in these rankings. The best part about doing this episode, the reason this is my favorite episode to do every single week, is what I hear from you guys in the comment section. Whether you agree with the boys, whether you disagree, and I know the LSU fans going to be hot at me, please let it rip. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Dill, I will give you the T-box. You can be the voice of the people here. Like the problems you see with my top 25, and give you the T-box where you want to start.
Just straight up be the voice to LSU. I mean, that's egregious to have them at number 5. Look at the way that defense has revamped itself, especially in the secondary. I mean, they are really tough to deal with, I feel like, back there. You got 3 guys who I think are playing at a high level with DJ Pickett, PJ Woodland, and obviously Mansour Delane, who is rocking right now.
The best cornerback in the SEC right now, straight up.
So it's like you look, that defense now is the personnel to do what Blake Baker wants. When they want to get after you and heat you up, they were unblockable for good chunks of that game against Clemson. I think there's one thing you could quibble with, and that's that they're still not running the ball particularly well. But I just look at how talented that wide receiver room is, and especially how they're able to use them to extend their run game out a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, I know their running backs aren't being productive. They weren't productive last year.
It's not the running back still. It's the offensive line. And my biggest concern with this football team as they go into SEC plays, can this offensive line establish the run? That's still a huge question.
Look, I think we know that's not going to happen, but it really hasn't slowed this LSU offense down over the past year, and it didn't really slow them down a ton against Clemson because they were still moving the ball. They just had some
I would argue that it did slow it down last year. Like the fact that a lot of these teams could play LSU and just pin their ears back and get after the passer because they didn't have to respect the run game, that was a problem. And now with Braylon Moore with the high ankle, and you kind of moving bodies around the offensive line, that's still. And this is the thing, man. Is I could sell you right now on LSU winning a national championship because that offensive line, there are some young faces that are still getting better as football players. It's very reasonable to believe that the offensive line that we've seen the first couple of weeks going to look completely different when we get into early November. And how about we make a deal here? We'll watch this game Saturday night as Florida comes to town. A Florida team that they might have the best defensive line that you see in the conference, right? Regardless of losing to USF, that defensive line, you think that's a hot take? I don't. I mean, they got multiple guys that will be top 100 picks in the NFL draft. If LSU can get something going on the ground,
does it really matter at the end of the day if they get it going on the ground, if they're still scoring? Because I look I don't know that they're going to be a great rushing team, but they're so dynamic on the outside. They can get that quick game going. I just think this offense can deal with it, and the defense is like a defense they can lean on a little bit.
That is fair enough. If the offensive line is not a problem Saturday night against Florida, you're probably going to see LSU move up in the rankings a little bit. That's the deal that we'll make. Because still, the LSU fans know, I want to be a believer in this team. I'm just concerned about what this offensive line. There's some quiet confidence, again, because I think they have the talent, and I think they have an elite offensive line coach that will have this offensive line getting better. The fact that they really struggle to get their base run against a team like Louisiana Tech, that concerned me. Now, this is the more important conversation regardless. So you're painting me out as a villain like I hate LSU. They're a top 5 team in the country for me. I'm very much open to moving them up. The reason I have a team like Oregon and a team like Miami where I have them ain't got no question marks about what they have up front. Both the new quarterbacks, Dante Moore, Carson Beck, have showed some really good stuff early. Let's start with Oregon, man. The Oregon and Miami have been the 2 most impressive offensive lines through the first 2 weeks that I've seen. And look, I know Oregon has played some lesser competition, and Oklahoma State ain't that good of a team. I ain't getting up here and trying to point to that as a Power 4 opponent. They ain't. It's been clean, man, and they've been dominating. You can't say that for a lot of other offensive lines that you see on this list. What I've seen from Dante Moore and how he looks like a completely different quarterback, than what we saw from him as a freshman at UCLA. You couple that with the offensive line, the Corey Moore being as advertised. I'm buying all the stock I possibly can in this Oregon team in 2025.
And I don't even mind that. Like, I get it. When you watch them play, they're executing at an unbelievably high level.
So high.
I do wonder though, like they haven't really showed anything. I'd probably have them at 4 right now, just because again, I think teams like Miami, LSU have both had their shot to show that they're great and both put on displays that I'd say like those were very impressive performances.
Yeah.
So give me LSU at 2, give me Miami at 3. I like where you have them. I just think Oregon, like, yeah, when they go play Penn State, if they go beat the brakes off them, which frankly, I think they will beat that Penn State team. I think you can probably then start talking about them in that 2 to 3 range. Yeah. It's just they play bums yet.
That's fair. It's a little bit of a projection. Here's the last thing I'll say with Oregon. There's so much. There's such a deeper team than they've been in years past. You know, I think one of the problems with Oregon, why did they play such bad football late in the season last year? They didn't have a ton of. They had a lot of good football players. They didn't have a ton of great depth. And so when you got into the Big Ten championship game and Jordan James already has 200 carries under his belt, and the starting 4 defensive linemen for Oregon last year had to play a ton of snaps throughout the year. They got a little bit more depth. And here's the other thing.
I think though that you're like saying they do have it. That's still like to be
better than it was last year.
I don't know. We'll see. Like we'll see when they go play big dogs. Can they rely on other defensive tackles besides Bear Alexander and Amari Washington? Because I'm not sure you've totally seen that yet, frankly.
Yeah, there needs to be. Yeah, I guess that could be fair. I like what I've seen from Tyone and Terrence Green. Look, when you're talking about them being in the 2 deep, I think I'm okay with it. We will see, though. Miami at 3. What's not to like about Miami, man? It's a great offensive line with a deep running back room. And Carson Beck looks like so far, and again, we have a sample size of one of the best secondaries in the country, wet, rainy conditions, playing Notre Dame week 1 opener. Dill, I thought Carson Beck looked really sharp. The version of Carson Beck that we've seen so far reminds me a heck of a lot of the version that we saw in 2023. Funny how, again, you give a good run game, give some pass protection, all of a sudden the quarterback starts playing a little bit better. They answered the biggest question we had. Are they good enough on the outside? Like Malachi Toney is a dude as a true freshman, more than as advertised. And then you look at CJ Daniels. CJ Daniels is a difference maker too. The biggest question you had about Miami was, is the defense fixed? Number 2, do they have good enough pass catchers? I feel like so far they've answered both of those questions early on in 2025. When you have an offensive line and a quarterback that I like, you're going to be high in the rankings.
Yeah, I got no issue with Miami. That defensive line, I think, can be really good, especially on the edge. I mean, they were tearing Notre Dame up for pretty much that whole game. Boundary corners look really good. No quibble with Miami.
Ruben Bain, by the way, and I know he's not it's not a sleeper. I'm not trying to say I discovered Ruben Bain.
Ruben Bain.
He was the most dominant football player on the field when you watch that Miami Notre Dame game. Penn State 4. I think that's fair, Dill. I still
want Penn State over LSU. Give me one reason to think like that. You go watch. They can't execute a great offense against FIU. Like again, you can say it was a little choppy for LSU to an extent, but at least they can explode and put some points up at times. Penn State just kind of wore that FIU team down. It's not like they ever really started clicking on offense, and that to me, all we heard about was these touted wide receivers out of the portal. That was not, to me, a great wide receiver portal haul. They still have the same problems they had last year. Lost a ton of really good players on defense. How are you going to have them over?
Okay, so I will say this. I've been pleasant that freshman in Chaz Coleman's he's a dude. Been very, very impressed with him coming off the edge. I am with you that I don't know if the biggest question's been fixed. You know, it was kind of funny in the offseason. There's a lot of this. Again, not an anti-Penn State take, having number 4. And Dill, I'd be open to having the conversation moving LSU up there, right? Because Penn State, I'm just confident because I know a lot about this team. Really, really good offensive line, really good run game. The defense is probably still going to be really dang good. We just all assumed that the pass catchers were better going into this year than what they were last year. And we kind of ignored that, okay, it's fun. When you say pass catchers, you think about just wide receivers. You lost one of, if not the best, tight ends in the country last year. I'm not sure if the whole pass catching room as a whole is better than what they had last year.
It's not
That's
like
still a
they
concern.
brought in like the Singletons and the Casey Concepcions and Mario
Yeah,
Cravers of the portal. They brought
yeah,
guys in who like weren't exactly. I mean, Ross was a like good wide receiver for Troy. Like Kyron Hudson didn't really play a ton for USC. It's not like they brought in these monsters. Trevor Pena was good for sure. I'm not like take away from him, but other than him, I don't really love this pass catching room necessarily.
yeah. Well, and there's also the element of like you want to see it more from Drew too, right?
Yeah.
Look, that's a game where it's just like let's table this conversation until we get Oregon going on the road to Penn State. Then we'll have that discussion a little bit more. Is it fair to say there's a division with the top five, like
No, I
pretty
think
clear
George
top
is
five?
good. I think Georgia's defense might
Okay,
be
then you
back a
got to.
little
Okay, that's actually fair because this Georgia, and again, it's been against Austin Peay, it's been against Marshall, so I get the pushback there. I think you still have the question, like who are the elite guys on the defensive line for Georgia? Christian Miller's looked good. Chris Cole has been worked in there. I know you're a Chris Cole guy, but is he the guy that can replace Jalen Walker and replace the production from Mike Williams? You think he is right off the
I
bat?
think he might. I mean, he is tearing it up. Like his
Yeah,
pass rush
sure.
just like look. And again, yes, I'm judging him against really not the greatest
Yep.
tackles in the world, but just athletically and like his instinct as a pass rusher, it looks a little bit different. So I am very excited for him. Elijah Griffin kind of tearing up in the middle, I'd say a little bit. Like you have some guys who I think are kind of rising to the occasion, frankly, for Georgia.
I think that defense has a chance to be and they're getting their off-ball backers more involved getting downhill. I think they knew, hey, I don't know if we have a Jalen Walker replacement on this roster, Michael coming off the edge. If we want that negative play production, got to lean on our off-ball backers. They're more than up for that task. And I think Raylan Wilson's probably taken a big step this year. I'm a little bit concerned about the offense, man. Like they threw it. It seems choppy. And again, we'll see what it looks like as they go on the road and play Tennessee. We'll table that. Oklahoma, I'm kind of mad at myself that I've waited 12 minutes into the episode. Probably half of y'all ain't listening no more. Oklahoma at 7. What is the reason they're not considered a top 10 team right now? Like, just give me 30 seconds real quick.
Preseason rankings.
Yeah, give me. I mean, John Mateer is. If there's one thing we learned from that Michigan game, and maybe it's just me thinking Michigan's a little bit better of a team than they are. There's one thing we learned. John Mateer's that guy. Like you needed a quarterback that could make it work when it's not perfect. You needed a quarterback that could elevate this team and this program. John Mateer showed us Saturday night that he's that guy.
Yeah, and your takeaway from this game is like totally wrong. I mean, we all knew John Mateer was that guy. There's a reason he was the number one portal player. It's their offensive line's not going to be a problem. In fact, they were quite good. Michigan had to, for the most part, generate pressure through blitzing and some other kind of unique things. They weren't just winning one-on-one like I thought they'd be able to. So if Oklahoma's offensive line is going to kind of stand tall a little bit, this is going to be a top 10 team for sure because the defense we all knew was awesome last year. It's going to be awesome this year.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Yeah, I spent so much time talking John Mateer. You're right. The biggest takeaway is this offensive line is not a liability. In fact, who knows? Like it might be a decent offensive line.
I mean, they don't run the ball either. So you gave that little diatribe on LSU. Oh, so bad. They like their run game's a bit of a problem too,
but they have a quarterback that can bail them out in the run game, man. Like you can get John Mateer involved in the run game, and they can. I don't even know if cobble it together is the right way, but they can be a little bit. They can have some success slowing down a pass rush because you got a difference maker back there in John Mateer. You're at me with this LSU, and maybe it's just a bad take, man. Maybe it's just a bad take. Texas at 8. I feel like look, Arch Manning, I don't think Arch Manning put anything out there in week 2 that gave you a ton of confidence that he's going to be that guy right now. And
it's frustrating to see him miss the amount of easy ones that he's missing. Because even in that San Jose State game, like he actually made some good throws. Just he made a couple of good throws against Ohio State. But you're missing some real easy throws that'll make it, I think, hard to effectively run against those good teams. The problem is everywhere else on Texas is loaded. Like this is
100%
tip top to bottom everywhere besides maybe quarterback.
If Arch Manning clicks, and he doesn't even need to be the guy that like Paul Feinbaum's trying to make him out to be. He just needs to be like solid. This Texas team is going to compete for national championship. But right now, he's not giving you national championship caliber play. Notre Dame at 9, that feels low to me. I thought when they asked CJ Carr to start pushing it down the field in that second half against Miami, I was really impressed. Why I'm frustrated if I'm a Notre Dame fan is we went into that game against Miami, and that Miami team turns out to be a really, really good football team. We didn't get Jeremiah Love involved enough, and then we kind of had the training wheels on CJ Carr when he showed in the second half. Probably didn't need the training wheels. Still, his ADOT in that game averaged at the target was 4.5 yards down the field. 33% of his pass attempts were screen passes. Look, Texas A&M this weekend, let the training wheels off. I think he showed you he can run this offense. That you chose him as your starting quarterback because you wanted to have a little bit more presence down the field. Well, gosh darn it.
And I think this is where they belong, though, because like that is a question, and that's why Michigan's going to be ranked. I think maybe Michigan should be ranked lower. Is if you play that way, that makes me think you don't feel like your quarterback is quite yet that guy. And I'm not sure if Notre Dame's quite good enough to not have.
Yeah. Well,
CJ Carr.
still, here's the other thing I probably should have noticed. I still have question marks about those tackles and pass pro against the best edge rushers. They got their tails whipped, man. And look, I get Ruben Bain's really good, but you're going to see Cassius Howell this weekend, and Cassius Howell's a damn good football player too. Florida State at 10, man. I think that's fair. Like, this is a team that they're building. They've built their roster around what they want to do. And gosh darn it, it looks good. That game, that win against Alabama was not a fluke. They straight up beat Alabama. South Carolina at 11, Dill.
Too high.
Concerns.
I think these three teams, especially Tennessee and Texas A&M, I'd have them over South Carolina until that offense can put together a couple of drives. Like they had that one opener against Virginia Tech.
Yep.
And since then, we really haven't seen them just string drives together of good, clean football. And it's really starting with that offensive line. They're just can't establish the run against really bad teams. And I look, they don't have the LSU talent on the boundary to not be able to run the ball. Lenore Sellers needs a run game. Somehow they haven't been able to figure it out. Their defense looks awesome. So
that's the caveat, man. Is this defense might not be like the big drop off that some might have expected from South Carolina in defense. I don't know if we're gonna get that. Like that front seven still can really get after it. That's fair. Tennessee 12. I owe an apology to the Tennessee fans. They were not in my top 25 coming into the year. The line of scrimmage play has not dropped off the way I kind of thought it was going to. Like my problem with Tennessee had nothing to do with the core. In fact, I think Joey Aguilar has shown he can be just as, if not better than Nico in 2025. My bigger concern was, can they run the football the way they ran it last year? Can they dominate along the defensive line the way they did last year? Now they got to get healthy on the defensive line, but from what we've seen early, the line of scrimmage play is still, it separates, man. This is kind of why I'm saying Tennessee, they made that transition from a good team to a good program. You know, the good programs, they lose talent, but they have guys who step up. The good teams, when they lose talent, they kind of drop off. Tennessee's kind of showing me that Josh Heupel's got that train running in the right direction. Clemson at 13, they just got Dill. I know that team's in there, man. I do. I really do. It's just been ugly. And you saw them kind of come out of the shell in the fourth quarter, right, of that Troy game. Cade looks like he's a freshman quarterback right now. The offensive line is blowing assignments left and right. It's a veteran offensive line. We know Cade can play. How are you? Sorry, I'm talking about how are you evaluating Clemson through 2 weeks here?
I'd probably have them below A&M. Like I said, I think A&M to me, yeah, you've seen some issues to an extent, but their offense is kind of good. They have good wide receiver play, and you said it. Like Cade Klubnik's just not playing good at all. I don't think he looks very rattled. He looks kind of like he did his first year starting, where every time the ball snapped, he starts kind of running backwards immediately and trying to break the pocket. I don't think he's helping his offensive line. I don't think that's been a unit that has made the step they probably needed to make if this was going to be a championship team. So to me, I don't know. Like, are they even better in Alabama? Like, they go play Alabama right now. Are you really confident in LSU or Clemson, I should say, in that game?
Yeah, I from what I've seen, well, I don't know because what I've seen from Alabama ain't all that great either. But I have Clemson at 13 because I know there's a different version there. Like that's probably my defense is, and we'll see. Dill, they will not be able to play the way they played at times against Troy and go beat Georgia Tech this weekend. I think Georgia Tech's a dangerous team. Texas A&M at 14. You think I'm a little low on them? Could be fair. I love what they've done in the wide receiver room. That might be one of the most upgraded position groups across the country. I mean, they went from guys that just could not make anything happen to one of the more fun wide receiver rooms to watch. And more importantly than that, Dill, the wide receiver room fits what Coach Colin Klein wants to do. Like, he's a yards after the catch, speed and space offensive coordinator. That's how he wants to run his offense. Balls out quick to your playmakers, and they're making plays after the catch. Last year, you're trying to run that offense with Noah Thomas as your one. And you shot at Noah Thomas, just not the kind of wide receiver he is. Now you're running it with KC. Now you're running it with Mario Craver. You have Terry Busty, Ashton Bethel Roman taking those steps.
They just need to start tackling. They're tackling at a really low level. They're not stopping the run particularly great to me.
Yes.
They just fix those things, and those don't feel like fatal flaws. Like, they just didn't have a good secondary last year.
Yeah.
They do kind of have their secondary, I don't think is playing poorly necessarily. They're just tackling at a really low level. So they just start tackling. This is
but that's my biggest concern with this Saturday night's game.
Can you turn it up and start tackling? I don't know.
Well, golly, if you ain't gonna be tackling Jeremiah Love, it's gonna be a long night. Like, and it's not just tackling; it's like the run fits. It just feels a little sloppy, feels a little porous on defense. I think they have the guys. They just has to come together. Feels very similar to what we were talking about Texas A&M last year. Now they have a better offense, I think, significantly better offense this year. Feels very similar to the defense we talked about last year. It's like they got guys. They can create some negative plays. The consistency. The explosive plays that were given up, it's just too much still. Alabama at 15, Dill, this is a team that I really do think has the talent to bang with anybody in the country. Just got to see it. Illinois at 16. I think that's fair. You think it's too high, too low?
I almost could go lower. I was really unimpressed. And again, it starts with Brett Bielema teams need to be really good along both lines of scrimmage.
Yeah.
I just don't really see that. That Duke team was kind of going up and down on them. They just weren't executing at a high level in the red zone and some other areas. I mean, Duke's better than this Illinois team, frankly. If you ask me man to man, I think they're a better team. Illinois being 16 is a little high. I just their offense line's not particularly good, and they don't have the dangerous weapons on the boundary that they did last year.
I agree. Now Luke Altmaier's that guy, 100%.
Awesome. No,
the thing, when you close your eyes, be all right, an Illinois coach or Brett Bielema coached the Illinois team, and I'm closing my eyes and I'm envisioning it. It's dominant line of scrimmage play, running the football, work and play action with a quarterback that can work it. It's not really the version you have. They're going to have to rely on the passing attack a lot more than I expected, at least, again, small sample size. They able to run the football consistently against Duke. Duke had more yards than them in that game. Duke turned the ball over, I believe, 4 times. We'll see. Indiana at 17. They just continue to confuse me. But
show me them playing a decent team. They're such a hard team to get a read on. They didn't look great against Old Dominion, beat up Kennesaw State.
Yep.
I don't know. I feel they took
fair.
a lot
17.
of last year. I'm not ready to put them up in that top 12 kind of range yet this year. But he can coach. As much as I don't necessarily love him as a personality, he really
the amount of money I lost on Indiana last year. I thought they were frauds until week 10. And just kept betting against them, kept losing. I'm done doing that. I feel 17's fair. It's a respectable ranking for Indiana. USC at 18. That I know you're gonna fight me on it, right? Probably. I've been very impressed with what Jaden looks like, and I get it. Missouri State, Georgia Southern, I get it. But I'm saying there ain't a lot of other. Georgia played Austin Peay, and Gunnar Stockton didn't look like that. Jaden looks really, really comfortable running this Lincoln Riley offense. They have one of the best wide receiver duos in the country, Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane. They got a running back in Wayman Jordan. Many probably don't know him right now. Wayman Jordan is that guy. I mean, the combination of contact balance, burst, feel for the position. I love the offense, and Dill, the defense, I know some USC fans are frustrated with it. Look how far we've come. We ain't giving up 40 points, and the USC fans are frustrated with the defense. That's a good thing. They got dudes along the line of scrimmage. That might be too strong of a word. This is what makes me feel good about USC's defense. They can get after the passer. They couldn't last year. This is one of the worst pass rushing defensive lines that we saw in the country. Anthony Lucas looks like an NFL guy. We know Cam Fountain's an NFL guy. Cam Fountain probably going to go top 50 in the NFL draft. Braylon Shelby, I think, looks really good too. Their ability to impact the quarterback with their front four, which was just not there last year, it's there now, makes me believe in this USC defense a little bit more in 2025.
I don't mind that. Again, they're giving up a lot of explosive plays. That's
Too
probably
many.
a big
Yeah.
question. So again, like you're right, they are creating more havoc. They're creating some negative plays, which again is really good. I'm a little concerned about the explosives for sure against some weak teams. And I'm still Jade Mav has got to show it to me before I am really ready to put this USC team comfortably in the top 25. Because yeah, you say he's comfortable against these bad teams, but like when the pressure's on, and there's probably some questions on this offensive line, or do they have top end big time guys at certain spots? Like
Yeah.
I love
So
Elijah
here's my
tackle. I like center and right
sorry.
tackle to me are going to be questions all year until we see them go block up really
Yep.
good teams.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch USC because we're going to learn more and more about them. Like they started with Missouri State, and then they upped it a little bit against Georgia Southern. Now they're going to take another step in competition against Purdue, then another one in Michigan State. And then we're going to find out at the end of the month as they go on the road and play Illinois.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what Illinois is.
That
We'll know a lot about USC by that point. For sure.
that game will allow us to at least know a little bit more about USC, regardless of Illinois is a top 15 team in the country or not. Utah's fun, man. Utah's really fun. I think they're the team to be in the Big 12 right now. And let's just talk about these Big 12 teams together here. Utah, Texas Tech, Iowa State. I have Iowa State. That's I know that's against consensus. And Dill,
Does
maybe
Iowa State have that like elite unit though? That's probably the question. Because I look, Texas Tech offense is fun. I think they're going to score on everybody they play. They have some pieces on defense. I don't know that it'll be a great unit, but they have some guys who can be difference makers. And then Utah, like I think their defense kind of might be back to what we expect Utah defenses to be. Devin Dampier at least gives them a pulse on offense.
More than a pulse.
That might be like it just like it gave him a beating heart, maybe you could say. Like they
my heart is if you're describing Devin Dampier at Utah's offense, I'm dang near having a heart attack, man. Like I think he's a blast to watch. Now, how consistent is it going to be as we get to stiffer competition? I don't know. Dude is so fun to watch. And again, I that's exactly, you kind of said it. Utah needed a pulse. Well, gosh darn it, they have it with Devin Dampier. Can I circle back, get my take on Iowa State? And it's, look, am I falling for like Iowa State just wins ugly, right? That's just the kind of program they are. It's not a shot. It's actually very good compliment to Matt Campbell, especially in those Cyhawk games. Dill, Iowa severely underwhelmed me in terms of what they can do. I don't think Iowa's the team. A lot of people thought like Mark Gronowski was going to like turn this Iowa off.
That's what it is. Gronowski's not a great quarterback.
No.
And the real thing is Kansas State's terrible. Like
that's the other thing, man. In Kansas State, you could make that argument. You could make that argument Kansas State should have won that game in Ireland too. And then Kansas State returns to the continental United States and they almost lose to North Dakota. And then they lose to Army. They're like, all of a sudden, I'm like, Iowa State on paper has a couple big wins. I don't know how impressive those wins are. And they weren't exactly with authority either. That's my reason. Again, might be falling for the Matt Campbell, we went ugly, because that's just historically what they do. Auburn at 20.
Too low.
Fire me up.
They'd probably be in top 15. They'd probably be a top 15 team.
Top 15. Who you putting them above? I maybe could get the argument.
Clemson or Bama. I don't know that I'm totally comfortable with like saying Bama or Clemson's a better team than Auburn. You look at the way that defensive line plays, unbelievably fun. They can really rush the passer at a high level. And then Jackson Arnold, to me, it's still gonna kind of come down.
So Dill, that's why. Sorry, I thought you were struggling. I'll give you the tee box again. My fault.
Jackson Arnold, I still wonder if his passing attack is going to be good enough against good SEC teams. It wasn't great against Baylor. Like they hit some big plays down the field. They ran the ball well. So like those are things you like to see. Mm-hmm. I do wonder like against really good teams, can they be balanced in the way they need to and use their best weapons, which are their wide receivers. But other than that, like this offensive line, they can really grind on teams. Defense is going to be really good. I think they have a pretty nice recipe if Jackson Arnold can kind of hold his water to win a lot of games.
Exactly the reason why I have him at 20, right? I just want to see a little bit more. Like I've been caught buying too much stock in Auburn, losing all my money. So I'm going to be cautious with my stock purchasing of Auburn. I will say this though. This is back-to-back games, and I get it. One Baylor might be a pretty dang good team.
Baylor's good.
For the
That's why
first
I'm
quarter.
comfortable with it. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily about Ball State. I know Ball State's not great,
But
but like,
both
Baylor's
of those games, though, what you saw from Jackson is I'm doing what I need to do to win. Baylor's leaving their two safeties high. We gonna run the football over them. That's what they did. For Ball State, it's like they taken away the deeper third. Can Jackson Arnold be patient and take what's there? Boom. That's what he was doing. That's that. And you said it best. That defense, I think, has the opportunity to be really good. I was a little nervous about the defense after week 1 against Baylor, and it just turns out Baylor just might be hanging 40 on everybody. Ole Miss at 21.
That's where they belong. They don't have enough game-changing talent, but it's still a pretty solid program. I think they're kind of an easy read. Like, they're not as top-end good as what they were last year, where they were a legitimate national title contender.
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin's still done a really good job of, like, having the meat and potatoes be solid, but they need a couple difference makers. I'm not sure they quite have.
The thing with Ole Miss, if Ole Miss was gonna like bang for a college football playoff spot, to me was we kind of knew the defensive line was going to take a step back. And it's not a bad defensive line. It's just not that nobody respects how good that defensive line was last year. The thing was like you needed that 1-for-1 with Dart and Austin Simmons, and I just don't know if you're going to get that. I don't watching that game back against Kentucky. That he has got some wood to chop, so to speak, if we're going to start comparing him to Jackson Dart. Michigan at 24, USF 25. I'll give my take on USF real quick, and we'll spend some time on Michigan. You have to put them in the rankings, right? You have to, right? They beat Boise State.
They had no business winning, though. That's what matters. But they are a tough one to figure out because you are right. Like
real, man.
I don't really look at those games as games that like USF showed they were the better team. They just were able to like scratch and claw their way to wins, which again, like respect to you. That's kind of what Iowa State's been doing for Matt Campbell's whole tenure. USF, I mean, I don't know. Is Byron Brown
my take is that play those games 100 times. How many times has USF beat Florida? And how many times Florida played about it? We've seen some ugly games from Billy Napier in Florida, and Florida could be on this list because there is a level that Florida can reach. That's very. But I ain't putting them on until they do something for me. All right, Michigan 24. Too low, too high. How are you feeling about that one?
I'd probably knock them out of it until they like show they have some confidence in this offense to run something that the frustrating part. And I'm a Michigan fan, so I feel like I got a lot in me right now. Like it felt like we were watching the same team as last year. They were running the same offense. It felt like I think the talent's much better. The offensive line's definitely better. I know people are like kind of pinning that loss on them. Wasn't really the offensive line in my mind. They just didn't open it up at all. They were really conservative, playing not to lose. And if that's how they're going to play, then I don't see them as a top 25 team.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm still going to keep them in there because I know the quarterback's better. And I know there's a lot of – and this is one of those teams that I think can get better as the season goes on. But it's what was the most frustrating for me is we've heard all offseason long about how they trust Bryce Underwood and how he's allowing them to do so much more on offense. And it's like you didn't show me through your actions that you trusted Bryce. In fact, you showed me that you don't because you didn't really try to do anything with him. You didn't ask him to do anything. The caveat here is that's his first career start on the road, playing an Oklahoma defense that we think's really good.
Yeah, but if they go out there and get like walked a little bit, like lose 40-20 or something, I almost feel better than like losing this game where you kind of hung in there to an extent, but never actually felt like you could win because you're playing a style of game that isn't going to win against good teams. Like it's just not even putting.
Yeah, like when you're down 2 scores in the second half and you're still running it into 7-man boxes. Like they were calling plays like they were winning by 14 in the second half. It's frustrating. All right. Boys got a little bit into our fan feelings there to close it out. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. Let it fly. I look forward to hearing from the LSU fans. And look, if LSU takes care of Florida this weekend, I'll be in the next Monday night. Appreciate you guys. I'm going to talk to y'all later. Peace.